Now it's time for 2022's game of not 2022. Our category that celebrates games released prior to January 1st of this year that got either a new port, an HD remake, or substantial DLC in 2022. Our nominees before I get to that, our previous winners are 2016 Red Dead Redemption on the Xbox One, 2017 Jack's magnum opus, Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, 2018.
I feel like you've been punishing Jack for 5 years ever since he got that through.
I got one win.
5 years of revenge for his one win.
I got one win.
2018 Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on the Switch, 2019 Resident Evil 2 Remake, 2020 Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and 2021 perhaps my magnum opus, Disco Elysium, the final cut. Our nominees this year are Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, Wordle, Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, Hitman 3, Paradise Killer, Fortnite, Rocket League Sideswipe, Geoguessr, and Atari 50.
God, this is the most diverse of these categories by some distance.
Yeah.
By the way.
So going first for us this year in this category will be Garrett's Kidney.
I think I'll start taking an easy way out and take one of my own off. I'll take off Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I really enjoyed the DLC released this year. It's a very nice treat.
They're pretty damn good tracks.
Yeah, it's just a lovely treat every 2 or 3 months to get 8 new Mario Kart tracks, and usually 2 of them are great. 2 to 3 of them are great, 2 to 3 are average, and then 2 to 3 are decent. But you do get 2 to 3 great tracks every 2 or 3 months. It's been a lovely little treat. But to stand there at the very top of the cool old new things released this year, not really.
I think the thing that's frustrating with it is they're so heavily leaning on the world tour tracks. And most of the
I disagree. I think they're like the secret hidden gems in there. Usually the world tour tracks are actually really good.
I kind of don't care for most of them, to be honest.
I just want the nostalgia.
It's a less annoying way to play them, though, which is what I like.
There is that,
and that's what those kind of
fair.
DLC packs for games like that should be. It's like rescuing cool ideas and cool tracks from games that are less enjoyable.
The Ninja Hideaway track is top 10 Mario Kart track. Full stop.
It is
fantastic.
I do like with this last wave they just dropped, where you can now fuck around with the items and just
I was about to mention that you can just turn them all to blue shells. You can do 100% blue shells in Mario Kart.
I watched a video where they did Baby Park with nothing but bullet bills, and it's just chaos.
If I didn't know my man here, I would say, Garrett, name your top 10 Mario Kart 8 tracks, but I absolutely believe you have a handwritten list beside you of your top 10.
It's laminated.
Yeah.
It's printed on the wall, actually. If you look, it's behind the Sheffield United jersey there. If you lift it up, it's actually hidden in a safe, locked in.
I mean, I would say that this is probably stronger than some of the other picks in here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just officially declare a pushback on it, but I'd be surprised for it to go first, because
I don't think
the fact that this thing exists, the fact that this is a game that came out the first version was 2013, 2014.
Yeah, even the deluxe version is 5.5 years old now.
Yeah, it's wild that we'd all been like, oh yeah, when's fucking Mario Kart 9 coming? And instead they went, well, actually, here's a bunch of DLC for it.
Here's an entire new Mario Kart game's worth of tracks inside the game you already own,
and it's a pretty good value too as well for the roadmap they've put out for it. It extends well into next year, doesn't it?
Yeah,
up to the end of next year.
It's crazy.
Is it 12? Is it 12 or 14 or 16 new cups?
Yeah, it's 48 new tracks. It's literally double the size of the original game.
Yeah, it's phenomenal for the one very reasonable payment. I mean,
I think it comes out to 50 cents a track.
Yeah, we don't really make a lot of value judgments generally, but you have to appreciate that value. And it's not on here, but for all the conversation about the price of Last of Us Part 1, which didn't make the cut. That's actually a really nice remake, but it was not 80 Europeans versus 50 cent a Mario track. I mean, that's you can't argue that.
Cool. Next up, me. I don't think Wordle hangs.
Yeah.
If we'd have done this in March,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. If this was February, I'd be like, no, I would fight you. But
The weird thing about this, if this was just an award for a game that didn't come out this year, I think we'd still have to have the conversation about it, because it was, first of all, it's a really cool idea, great idea. But given that it's kind of like, you look at the criteria and it's like, what was done to this game in terms of new content or changes, and it was all bad in 2022 for Wordle, when you consider the buyout and the glitches and people losing their data and certain words not being accepted. And yeah, it's a shame. But if we were talking exclusively, you know, just on what was a game of this year that didn't technically come out this year, this might even win based on how big it was and how great it legitimately is. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer watching it all go down in flames, to be honest.
It was such a huge boom, but such a quick bust then afterwards. Like, it's like, oh, when they acquired it, it's like, well, how can they figure out how to fuck this up? And God bless them, they did, and quick.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, and it's not its fault because it comes with anything, but I did get sick of the 400,000 different variations of Wordle that came with it as well, and just seeing my Twitter feed get just like saturated with a bunch of spin-offs that I just did not care about. Like, I tried a few of them, but
God forbid you have to scroll past tweets.
It's
the injustice of it.
The only good thing to do to them, to be honest.
God
To be
damn
honest,
it.
I liked all of them. I liked all the variations. I liked like Quordle. I liked Octordle. I really liked the music intro one where you get like a
Oh yeah,
I did
The
enjoy
music
that
intro
one.
one was my favorite.
Particularly the 90s one was just every day I was like, right, I'm gonna hear a new 90s banger, and like even if I knew it, I would just guess it like right away and then just play out the whole song in the background of my browser. So it did spark, like, I think it sparked better versions of itself. Like I preferred the challenge of Quordle to Wordle. I preferred the intros round thing, but then like intros rounds have been around for ages, you know, shout out, never mind the Buzzcocks. So there was nothing particularly original about Wordle, but it did strike. Like there's nothing on this list that is as zeitgeisty as Wordle became, because everyone played it. It has that like Nintendo Wii thing of like even your mum played it kind of thing. So everybody across the family could get into it, and that's pretty rare with a game. Like it felt like the same sort of mobile and like line sensation as like what Pokemon Go was when it came out, where just like you look across your timeline and it was infinitely how many guesses people have Wordle. I was in a Teams chat with like 3 or 4 people at work every day saying how many guesses it took us to get the Wordle and shit like that. So I think if it was still around that time, I'd be like, I can't believe we're cutting it now. But here we are in December, and I can't, honest to God, say that I've even been near Wordle in 6 months. So it just hasn't lasted.
Next up, Mark.
I think that the overall presentation of this package is like the kind of standard bearer for this sort of thing. But the actual problem with Atari 50 is that all the games are 30, 40 years old, and most of them are actually bad.
Yeah, I saw the case made once that I kind of agree with, that like Atari 50 is a different genre. Like it's a new genre. They've invented a new genre of game here, because it's really not about the games. They're so secondary to this. Unlike like a Castlevania collection or a Mario collection or Mega Man collection or all those that we've had, which are just they're sometimes of concept art, but they're shoved to the side. Whereas this, when you log into this game for the first time, they show you like the timeline of Atari. They don't even give you the list of games. That's not what they put in front of you first and foremost. Instead, they give you that timeline where you could follow the games, you can understand the context the games existed in and why people found them cool and interesting at the time.
You're buying,
you know, Garrett, that's called a book.
You're buying,
but that's the thing. It's like people always throw around the phrase, "Oh, it's a video game museum," and this, honest to goodness, is like it is an honest to goodness digital museum in a really cool way.
I wish there were more things like this. Like you said, sometimes like I really like that whatever anniversary package they put out for Street Fighter on Switch a couple of years ago, which had like from 1 all the way up to whatever the highest version of 3 is, and they had like magazine scans and concept art, but like not enough of it. I was like, that stuff is so cool. Realistically, I'm not actually going to play Street Fighter Alpha fucking 3 or whatever the fuck. Like me and my friends boot that game up once a year and mess around with each game once, and that's kind of it. Is like, go in on that stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? I hope Atari 50 does inspire more people when they're, because we're in the era of re-releases. I mean, we just are. I mean, and it's not slowing down, and I think it's going to keep being a thing. And I think that doesn't have to be a bad thing. But I think I would just love it if the packages were more complete. You know what I mean? Yeah. Same again with that Sonic thing that came out this year that people seem mostly pretty bummed about, but also had kernels of that stuff in there. It almost had it. You know, I hope Atari 50 kind of blazes a bit of a trail.
And the thing as well, but this is like not even the first thing that Digital Eclipse did this year, because they did the Cowabunga collection earlier, and that was also fucking tremendous.
Really good.
And because the thing I wanted to ask, because I never got any of the like the NES Mini, the PS1 Mini, and that kind of stuff. But from my general understanding, from the very brief amount of time I played with them, it's like you load it up and it has, you know, a nice little bit of UI and you see the box art. But past that, it doesn't do anything else in terms of giving you like a real kind of bit of context to what this console is, why it is important.
No.
You look at this kind of thing here and it's like there's no fucking reason that those like minis shouldn't have this level of depth to them and in you know, history and context and blah 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 blah. Like this is,
it's not just text either. It's like produced documentaries. It's not just like here's a wall of text about the game. It's like, no, we've actually interviewed the people, we've talked to them, here's the video, you can watch it. You can really like understand the moment these games existed in. And as you said, like the games suck. They're Atari games, many of which are from the 70s and 80s. Like,
and even like Atari Jaguar, like there is no fucking good games in there. And I've been playing a bunch of
Jaguar games on that. I did not know that. That's actually cool.
There's
a couple of new games as well. There's like a new version of Breakout, which is actually pretty good.
Right, but that's the one thing. That is the one thing. The remixed mastered versions they do, they're really cool. But it's like, I kind of wish they did that with all of them and just gave me those instead.
Yeah, it's such a cool package. I'm kind of sad to see it go because I think it's as I said, it's almost a new genre. It's almost one of a kind in its own way. But listen, I guess I'll let it go.
Yeah. Next up we have Jack.
I'm going to cut something that I added to the list, and it's something that I discovered this year, and it is Geoguessr.
Young people told me about this game.
I've been playing it for the last week now.
It's good, right?
It's. I mean, I prefer Marvel Snap, but it's good.
I mean, obviously, nothing is as good as the great Marvel Snap.
There are only like two things I played on my. Actually, no, I played Point P on mobile as well this year. That was pretty good.
Poor man's triple triad. Anyway, the thing I like about Geoguessr is the immersive like ability to just transport yourself into another country, another environment, and like try and figure out where you are. It's everything that you'd want from an exploration game, except it's making you choose like every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and you're doing it with the real world. And it makes me feel like I am transporting myself around, because look, there's a lot of countries I'm not going to go to. I'm probably not going to go to Bhutan. I'm sorry if there's any Bhutanese listeners right now, but I now know.
Not anymore. There's not.
Yeah, damn it. Sorry, just the one Bhutanese listener we had. But I now know what it looks like, and it looks cool. And you know, like just places in Philippines, and you know, 1 minute you're like in a back street in Paris, and then the next minute you're in the middle of the countryside in New Zealand, and I just think all the little gradual improvements and upgrades and stuff that I've seen versus where the game was a couple of years ago when I first kind of was watching people play it on it was at the start of the pandemic really, where there's a guy called Geoguessr and there's a guy called Rainbow, he plays it a lot, and I watched a couple of videos of that on YouTube, and I just never felt brave enough to play it because I was like, I'm not enough of a nerd. But I really got into it, and the way that they've improved it, the multiplayer modes on there are fantastic. They added a quiz mode this year, which is really good. People submit their own quiz content. There was some great like World Cup quizzes on there, like, you know, guessing stadiums of player and locations and stuff like that to do with players and teams. And yeah, there's something for most people on Geoguessr. It's like a real kind of like travel transport nerds sort of paradise of being able to whisk yourself into another environment. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't really feel like it's, you know, the everything on here, aside from I guess the quiz mode, which is a whole new mode that they added, everything on here is like continuous improvement, but continuous improvement in a way that just makes the game more fun and more accessible. And it's like a cool little hidden community, and it's free to play. Yes, it runs out Like you can play it for like 5-10 minutes and then you have to wait 15 minutes to play it again, but you only have to wait 15 minutes. Like it's not like you're waiting for ages. And if you want to like buy Geoguessr, it's like 10 or 15 quid for a whole year, and then you can infinitely play it. But if you just want to keep it free, you can. So yeah, I cut a massive promo on it about on the last link to the cast that went up before Christmas, and I won't repeat anything else that I said from there. So go back and listen to episode 282 for like a more in-depth review of all the things I like about it. But I'm happy to cut it here, but I'm really enthusiastic. And I'm glad, Mark, that you are now involved in Geoguessr. And God damn it, Dave, I know you will love it as well.
Yeah, no, it's one it's getting played over Christmas.
Yeah.
Barry.
I don't really know what was other than just being ported on a new system. I would say Paradise Killer probably doesn't.
It probably doesn't hang. It was primarily a nice excuse to play that game again. I mean, they gussied it up a little bit that it kind of like is more stable. So there were some texture pops and stuff like that in the original. It's added new soundtrack remixes. It's added some new collectibles with deeper lore about Perfect 25. It's added a few new side quests and things like that. And I think most crucially of all, if you're somebody that wants to go in there and actually like completely clear out the game, it's added a press one button and reveal like a kind of like Hitman vision where all the collectibles are in your radius. Which is a real, like, if you're going back to play that game for the second time and to like get a platinum or whatever, like that's a really handy little thing to have.
Okay, I didn't know I thought it was just it's on Xbox. I didn't realize it was a but are we happy to cut it anyway? Or
yeah, they did a little, but compared to some of these other things that either put out like entirely new modes or levels or was in the debate for is it actually a completely different game, I don't think it does quite hang.
Yeah, because I kind of dived into it because I was hoping to see whatever like the new cycle question. To be honest, I couldn't really off the top of my head remember if I did see anything that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, you at one point text me to ask me, and I gave you the list of this is new, this is new, this is new, this is new.
But it's certainly just having that game up on a big screen TV and just having that world pop, the colors pop, the soundtrack pop as well.
Because that is the thing. It wasn't the new things and the new fixes and stuff that they put in weren't the feature selling you on it. It was exactly what Barry said. Say, here's Paradise Killer on Xbox.
On Game Pass.
Yeah, on Game Pass.
Which is always a nice consideration for a revival for a game a year later or 2 years later is popping it on Game Pass.
So you finally got a little bit of revenge on Paradise Killer.
Yeah. They should put Last of Us 2 on Game Pass. That would be sick if they did.
So we can vote it off next year.
You son of a bitch.
Background to Garrett.
There's two very, very popular games on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite. I think what they do is cool. I think they do lots of cool things. It's either Fortnite or Rocket League. So who I know Barry's the Fortnite.
I'm the Fortnite man. I'm not trying to make it a yearly occurrence, but this is my cutting Guardians from best soundtrack. Fortnite should win this category, okay? And that is a hill I will die on.
I think you're going to have to.
This is I mentioned earlier. This is the one game, one category ever in my 7 years doing this. I have notes on this. There has never been a better game of not this year ever to win than Fortnite. It is the ultimate game of not this year. Let me pull up my notes and I'll say my piece.
He's got his reading glasses
all the
on.
characters they put
Barry's
in the game.
Let me get my readers on here and I mean it may be a losing cause, but I want to give it its due.
Dear gamers,
I do put it to you. Okay, no, but so obviously it is obviously, for better or worse, it is the ultimate live service game. It is constantly updating. They're refreshing their map. They are refreshing their quests. They are refreshing their lore. And the funny thing is, all the positive things I'm going to say about Fortnite here, I'm not even a Fortnite lore weirdo. I don't care why Kratos is fighting Master Chief. I don't care about any of that. So all the positive things I'm going to say is not even taking that into account. So there's probably an 11-year-old who could come on and do that part for me. But they are constantly refreshing it and updating it. They have managed in a way that no other, battle royale has. For all the other new competitors that have come on, they've managed to weave plot and like NPCs and like actual real locations onto their battle royale game. So it's not just you and a bunch of other players on a map and the last one to live wins. You're, dropping onto a location to try and get your resources, but then, hey, you bump into this new character that's just here for this season, and they'll give you a mission, or they'll give you a bounty, or they'll give you XYZ, or they'll offer you a particular service, and this is general stuff that they've been doing, not just this year, but for the last, couple of years. So they've continued that in 2022. They added a sort of a Chrome themed event where there was like this sort of Chrome ooze kind of taking over the map, and that was going to be real time thing that was happening. It was not always the same, and so you'd have to talk to characters about that and things like that. Alongside that, they also added a new suite of weapons that evolve as you use them, which is like a completely new mechanic, which is another really underrated thing. I think Fortnite is, you kind of put it up there along with Roblox, in the sense that it's a super popular game that a lot of people like us don't really understand, because a lot of us don't play them. And so you don't realize that they're like quietly in the most popular game in the world doing like really cool shit and adding new mechanics all the time. So yeah, this year it was kind of like there were certain Chrome weapons, and as you use them, and if you get kills and you're playing really well, the weapon can evolve and change over the course of the game based on how well you're using it, which is like a really interesting concept to throw into a game like this. So, and then there's the obvious stuff, which is the constant suite of new characters, which I know it's easy to be cynical about, corporate synergy, the video game, but when a push comes to a shove, they have added an incredible suite of characters, to the degree that if these were in a more kind of hardcore friendly game like Smash, I think Smash should be on this list, and Smash might win this list with this list of characters on it. This game, this calendar year, added John Cena, Goku, Spider-Gwen, Geralt, Doomguy, Ash from the Evil Dead, and a bunch of people that's just people I know and that I like off the top of my head. So I can run up on you as Geralt, as John Cena, with a shotgun and blow your head off. Okay, that's great. And with all the stuff you get with those characters, don't ask me how much money I've spent in Fortnite this year, because it is a 3-digit figure. I will say that off the top of the bat.
Oh my god!
Okay?
Oh my
when you buy a character,
man.
I am down bad. I am down bad for.
I didn't even spend that in Pokemon Go this year, Barry, and that is a high bill.
When you buy a character, you get your character and you get your like emote and your weapons and all stuff, and it's fully customizable. So I got John Cena and Ash Williams. I can give Ash Williams the "You Can't See Me" taunt, and it plays the little song as he goes around doing that. Conversely, I can give John Cena the battling a deadite under a basement emote. I've got them riding around on mini bikes and things like that, doing all kinds of. It's an insanely silly game at its core. Like, they not only get these licenses in, but they, presumably through lots and lots of money, they just get the right to just do whatever they want with these characters, because it's like, no matter if it's WWE or Marvel or anyone else, it's like, if you give us these character skins, they go into Fortnite and they can have any emote or any weapon or anything at all assigned to them, and it's a real toy box kind of sensation on it. To that end, they when they added Goku, and I'm not even a Dragon Ball guy, they like broke the game in the most amusing way possible by adding the most overpowered Kamehameha move into the game, where like there was just viral clips of people winning games because they would pull off this move, and it's literally just a massive laser beam that extends almost the length of the map, and they're killing like 3 people in one go and winning games, which is like busted, but it's like hilariously busted, and it didn't last very long. But I love that they were just like, well, we're doing a Dragon Ball event, we're putting a Kamehameha in. It has to be extremely powerful, lads. We're putting it in. It's Dragon Ball. It has to be that. I think that's really, really great. They've put in new weapons that like the evolving weapons I was talking about. They legitimately change the way you play the game. So for the tail end of last year, they had a Spider-Man event and they put in web shooters, and the web shooters act like, if you remember the Spider-Man 2 PS2 game, where it was like real physics. It has to attach to a physical thing, and it has proper physics where the angle of your swing is affected by the way the part of the environment it attaches to. They added that in. When the Spider-Man event was over, those were such a popular thing that they then put a non-Spider-Man branded grappling gun weapon in there to have that exact same effect. So I played a match where it came down to me and one other guy. I did eventually win. I can't remember which character I was. He was Rick from Rick and Morty, and he was Spider-Man swinging from the top of a tree, just in a 360 degree from the tip of it, because I don't think he wanted to fight me, and I had to shoot him out of midair with my gun, and I did, and it was phenomenal, and I felt great. They so it's not a aim down sights game. You don't kind of Call of Duty style look down the sights of your gun. They added a specific gun that when you hold left trigger to aim, it has aim down sights. That specific gun. So if you want to play the game that way, you can tailor your loadout to have that ability. And if you're kind of a hardcore Fortnite person or like Halo players don't like that style of game, you don't have to use that weapon. You don't have to engage with that mechanic, but over time to kind of diversify the options to you as you play, they've added that in there as well. And then they've added just really like fun mechanics. Like they added a comical fiend like mallet that squashes people. It squashes people as an aggressive attack if you do right trigger. But if you do left trigger, you like smash it on the ground and it bounces you into the air. Like they are constantly messing with the traversal in that game in really interesting ways to give you something other than like, what can we put in this game that will let you get across the map other than just running? And it's already got vehicles, and they're putting in non-branded, non-specific grappling web shooters. They added dirt bikes to the game. Dirt bikes are cool. Remember when we all played Vice City for the first time and it had a dirt bike in it compared to GTA 3? That's great.
I will say, not to completely just cut you off while you go on a stream of consciousness here, but,
but I hate Fortnite.
Are you 12?
No, but it's incredibly impressive as someone who works for a video game company, and it's a fairly large company, to be able to do the amount of stuff that Fortnite is doing. And like, we're not exactly in the bubble of a lot of those live service games, but even with like the amount of money that's involved there's still a logistical aspect to it of people being in the right place, knowing the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing to make that kind of shit work. And the simple also the fact is that you have all of these different brands that you're trying to have relationships with and bring them together where, as you mentioned there, you can have like fucking someone go up to Goku and blast his head off a shotgun. It's like, it is incomprehensible that Fortnite is working as well. Because, like usually, even if we're outside of the bubble, you might see if, say, like Apex Legends, this gun gets whatever nerf or whatever, and then the community goes mental about it for a month. I haven't seen that with Fortnite at all. All I have seen every fucking couple of weeks or so is a new gif of whatever nonsense happening.
I think something that's worth noting as well is that we talked about a similar kind of thing with No Man's Sky earlier in one of the other categories, like where that game is now relative to where it was at one stage after release. Like what that game originally was fucking DOA. And to have turned around to be like, I never would have seen it coming, being the biggest game in the world. And there is something like, much as, yes, there is the cynical capitalist brands element to
There's
it. There's
also the cynical, they stole somebody else's game to do it.
Yes.
There's also
that's
that
also,
they
took the PUBG idea.
There is all that stuff, but there is like a crumb of a really positive, like, developers shouldn't just give up upon release if something is broken or lacking. You can make a success out of these things. Don't just like shit can your developers straight away.
And something Mark mentioned on there is how generally positive the reaction from the fans has been. Obviously, a game that big, there is a degree of bullshit, but generally speaking, when they add something ridiculous like the Kamehameha, people just have fun with it because it's also extremely frequently updated. How many games, their live service or have roadmaps, die on their arse or get delayed? Like they update that thing. So if they put in a weapon that's completely busted, it's like, well, this is just this month's event, and they'll fix it the next time because that feedback loop is really good that they have with the fans. And that brings me to my last 2 points. And these are kind of my main things I want to talk about for this category. Earlier this year, they did an event where they gave you the option to play with no building, right? Which is the thing me and all the other owls hate about Fortnite, right? Because we play the game, me and my buddies, we'd party up and we'd have a Friday night and we're doing. You get to the end of the game, you've killed a few bots, you've maybe killed a person or two along the way, you're doing really well. And then you get down into the final circles with a kid and all they do is watch building tutorials all day on YouTube. You nail them once with a rifle and they're building all these contraptions and you can't get them because if you don't know the building, you will not last in that game. It's not a thing you can just ignore. You have to know how to do it. So they add this event. I'm playing it. My friends are playing it. We're like, this is fucking great because the core mechanics of it are really solid. It's not the greatest third-person shooter in the world, but it's really good. And it has all the other bells and whistles I was talking about. So they then took all that positive feedback, and now it is a permanent feature in the game they added this year. And so I just have that switch flicked 100% of the time. I don't have to, I spent years trying to figure out the building, never got it. Now I don't have to. I can play it exactly feature complete in every other regard. I can just turn off the building.
Which is so funny because it's one of the remaining things from the original Fortnite that was
right.
terrible.
So that, and I'm like, get it out of here, get it out of here. So they added that, and that like changes the game. It brought people back. It brought like so many people, like myself. Like I checked in with it every couple of months because I was mildly intrigued by it. Never quite got it, but then once I tried it out because they took the building out, and now I'm back in and I play it all the time. And then the most recent thing they added, obviously, is the Unreal 5.1 update, which obviously Epic has the leg up on that stuff. You know, it's their fucking engine. But they just updated it across the board, completely free update. You just boot it up on one of your next-gen systems, and you can see it in 5.1. And it's really nice, is basically the short version of what they've done with it's something about that animated kind of cartoony style contrasted with incredibly realistic dynamic lighting looks fantastic, like looks really, really, really good. And so, you know, you have a suite of options where you can play it with all that stuff turned on. It has 120 hertz mode on consoles. It's kind of a performance beast on consoles because you can play it at locked 60 with all those new Unreal bells and whistles, or you can turn them off and play it at 120. Like it's a super impressive technical game. And again, Unreal 5 and zero build mode, those are my main kind of pitches in terms of really significant stuff they added to this game, on top of the fact that it is the ultimate live service game along the way. So in short, Fortnite is a land of contrasts. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm
getting
I'm
cutting it is what you could say here. I can just hack it. Rocket League, then I guess.
Yeah. I think Rocket League can go. I think Rocket League Sideswipe is such an excellent take on Rocket League to make it work on mobile, because you could so easily just do like, you know, just Rocket League but on mobile, but instead they decided
they should have called it that.
But they just, you know, they did this like 2D plane version of it that keeps like the kind of core elements of how Rocket League works, but did make it adjust to this 2D plane version. I didn't play as much of it this year as I thought I was going to do, but it's such a great version of that. And you know, I still load it up every now and again, but I don't think it's anywhere near as substantial as the other things on this list.
It's very cool though.
Dave. Okay, thanks, Dave. It's no good choices at this stage.
I feel bad for Barry here because he's gonna really struggle with this.
I'm gonna struggle, but I've said my piece. You know, myself and John Cena have given our all.
When you said
because Epic Games really need the boost.
Yeah, stop shitting on the little guy, you know?
You should have started with they took the building out, because I probably would have like immediately just gone, oh good, that sounds like a game I might try and play now.
Just based on, in spite of my immense respect for the man, but the lack of other people playing it, I think I'm going to take a crack at Fortnite now.
Oh dear. I thought I'd get it at least one more round, but I guess the tie. I mean, can I offer a counter on that?
What is your counter?
I would rank the new Hitman map as like a solid B-.
That was my other option.
It's very good.
See, your feelings had already been hurt, and I didn't want to hurt Jack's as well already. I'm totally happy for either or both to go now, because I don't think much is like Hitman 3. Just some more Hitman. Always good to have some more Hitman. But it's not fundamentally game changing. I don't think it's
can we talk about what they've fucking done in Hitman this year, though? For starters,
let's talk about it.
Yeah,
like they've added obviously a whole new map, Haven Island, which is a really fucking cool map. There's lots of fun things that you can do on it. You know, like it has an underground base, it has like a side base, and there's like a weird game where you can have a slap fight with a bunch of guys.
Good.
Yeah,
it's just so hilarious. Good. And there's so many like good features to that new map. They've added loads of new items. They added a Molotov cocktail, which has completely changed the meta game for speedrun by breaking it massively, but in a really fun way. Like if you throw a Molotov near someone and they get set on fire, it counts as an accident kill for reasons. But yeah, Haven Island is like really, really cool new level. Like it, you know, I'd put it up there side to side with maybe sort of the middle to top of the Hitman 3 levels. They added the elusive target arcade, which I think is a fantastic idea, because there's a lot of elusive targets which, if you don't if you didn't get in on it on the ground floor, or if you're not someone who's constantly checking the menu, to go back and
or if you fucked it the first time.
Yeah, exactly. If you fucked it the first time, you can go back and you can play them sequentially, and they all have cool unlocks at the end, you know, so you feel like I'm not just playing this for the sake of playing this. I'm playing it to unlock something.
To kill Gary Busey.
Yeah, exactly. I want to murder Gary Busey, or I want to murder Sean Bean, like everyone in every movie. And it's pretty cool. Like they mix and match. Some stuff will come up again, some stuff won't come up again, and you can play. And then they fucking built a roguelike into Hitman.
I haven't checked this out. I do really want to get to this.
Oh my god. And they're just like, right, so here's a base, and here's a mission path that you can go down, and everything that you unlock in this mission path you can use in this mission path, and you know, anything that you lose within the level or you get taken off you or whatever, you don't have anymore. So it's proper, like, you carve out your own little like way through some of the levels, and then different targets within those levels, whether it's like a main boss target or an elusive target or like one of the side contract targets, and then you can sort of page your way through the game and then gradually unlock more areas of your base. You then unlock the ability to have more items and more weapons and more things in the roguelike mode, but you still need to earn money in these little roguelike chapters that you're playing.
What's the name of that mode again?
I can't remember what the name of the mode
because
is.
I was like, I really enjoyed the part of the season pass was the 7 deadly sins stuff. I liked that because it was like it's forcing you to replay a certain map several times very quickly, but each time you do it, it layers in an additional level of challenge for an additional layer of reward. So I like that because they're such perfectly intricate masterpieces, all those maps, that it's endlessly fascinating to me the ways in which they still are finding to do variations on it, because there's just so much there to play with and so many pieces to move around the board. I don't think it wins for me necessarily, because like I think it would be disingenuous of me to say I've come back a lot to Hitman 3 this year, and maybe that's partly my own fault. But it's definitely worthy of a top 4 or 5 finish.
It's one of those games where, and it's always the same with any of the Hitman games, every time you log back in, there's like 4 or 5 new missions you can play. There might be an elusive target live. There's like this is a month. Like they regularly bring out graphic roadmaps of their content and all the additional bits and pieces that they do. And to me it's on par in terms of the scale. And Barry, bear with me on this, in terms of what the scale that IO have, the way they treat this game is on par with what they do with Fortnite, I would say. Because Epic Games, and don't get me wrong, everything you said I agree with, like it's amazing, but they've got a lot of money to invest, therefore they're going to develop a really cool experience, and they do, which is great. But the Hitman, like IO are still keeping this game. They're developing a Bond game at the moment, and they're still keeping this live. They're still adding things to it. They're still making you want to log back into Hitman 3 and go through it and play. And I just think, I don't know if it's going to win this. Like looking at the things that are left on here, like I totally get why.
And again, also being able to load in all your Hitman 1 and 2 stuff into it is just, that should be an industry standard. Like being able to
And I don't even think they intentionally started out to make a 3-part World of Assassination trilogy, but the first game was so popular and such a critical darling, and they fought so hard to make a Hitman 2, that adding everything together, when they came to develop Hitman 3, they were like, oh, we just need to keep this synergy going all the way through. And it's now like, you're just jealous of somebody that's never played any of these Hitman levels, because you can just bang all the way through like one of the most inventive and immersive experiences in video games for the last 5 years. Don't think Hitman 3 is going to win this category. Needed to say all that stuff because they still keep making it cool.
I think all this stuff that they've been doing lately was not on like their initial kind of. I don't think they had plans past like once the James Bond announcement came out. I think they were kind of like, we've done. I feel like at one stage they did say we are done with Hitman 3, and then they came back with
they were too busy having money fights to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. So Hitman 3 goes.
Right now, I know Fortnite's really up against it with these
because boards. not only its opposition, but our next selector, Mark Robinson.
What up? Oh boy.
I think it's time.
Wait, did we cut Fortnite as well, or did we just cut Hitman?
No, we cut Hitman instead.
Did I get rope-a-doped?
It was Barry offered it as the alternate, and you worked yourself into a shoot.
Yeah.
Because the
No,
thing
Jack.
is,
I remember I said Fortnite's winning.
The thing is, I really do appreciate like everything Barry has said there about Fortnite. Like you're trying to be as impartial to this as I can be. And then it gets, you know, obviously I'm the Cuphead guy. I think that
you're one of the Cuphead guys.
One
it's
of the
not an
Cuphead
exclusive
guys.
Robinson brand anymore.
That's fair. I think, you know, that Fourth Island, what's on there, those bosses, the way that Miss Chalice can basically change the way that you play the game. You know, she has a completely different playing style. The new weapons that are added to it, like, and those bosses, they are challenging.
It is.
Saw me on my stream try and beat that fucking horse thing, whatever it was.
Don't talk to me about it.
Boy,
it's an additional, sizable, challenging chapter to easily one of the greatest games ever made.
But I do think Stanley Parable left a stronger impression on me in the grand scheme of things.
It's really tough. The funny thing is, I think Cuphead and Fortnite actually have a decent amount in common. I think it boils down to which of the core games do you enjoy more, because it's like new areas, new ways of playing, new weapons, new characters. You know, but obviously then the actual core game is super different. And then Stanley Parable is this whole other beast.
Freelancer is what that Hitman mode was.
That I've heard them talk about that. I was trying when you said that, I was like,
God,
I was going to say contracts. That's not right. That's
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I was like frustrated trying to like.
It felt like a quiz. It's like, well, do you know the name of the thing?
Yeah, I was trying to close the notes app on my phone that I've been scribbling away at, and like start searching for the Hitman 3 modes. And I was like, I'll just fucking ask him.
I might just cut off Fortnite because I used to work with Epic and they were a bunch of dicks to us. So I might just go.
Hey, it's not nicest fucking. It's not nicest.
They also stole a bunch of kids' data this week and were using it for malicious purposes. So there's that.
Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about those stupid fucking kids?
Until they steal Barry's data, and it's like, no.
Well, they can have it. They can have it. Here's my data. I think it's great.
I was like, another just for whoever's editing this, for another audio drop before they come out. Who gives a shit about those stupid fucking kids is another good one.
I was so looking forward to a Stanley Parable versus Fortnite battle. I was looking forward to being the most like one-sided against the world guy arguing Fortnite against Stanley Parable.
I think to have gotten a game none of the rest of us really give a shit about to third place it's pretty fucking good.
I played like 70 or 80 hours of Fortnite. I played so much Fortnite, I deleted it off my Switch out of fear I'd play more Fortnite. Because when it came out of Switch,
back into it.
Like I was actually thinking about doing like the giant swerve because he voted for Stanley Chronicles in the other category. So I was like, back to your passion project here, but it's already gone. So sorry, Barry, I couldn't help you.
It can be ungone. Come on, you just highlighted it. We can.
Sorry, the red is final. The red is final.
Fortnite is the ultimate this category game. I think it's the ultimate this category game.
But then it would win every year, and that's just boring.
I mean, I suppose you come up against like one of the like, so you have like what we already said about Cuphead quite briefly.
Yeah, we should talk about the Stanley Parable, which is a game I think screwed itself over with its own goddamn title.
But this is it, that the Stanley Parable, a game that adds and reinterprets so much to the original that we spent half of this year arguing whether it's a different game or not.
Because there's a more egregious example, like we didn't nominate Overwatch 2 in any category. Overwatch 2, which they put 2 in the box, is a like more egregious example of it's the exact same as the original. If they put a 2 in the title of this game, nobody would have batted an eyelid.
Overwatch 2, we want you people to buy this again.
Yeah,
it's pretty fitting that actually, now that you point that out, it's pretty fitting that came out the same year as Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I mean, what a perfect game to complement what Stanley Parable is saying and doing. I will say on Stanley Parable, this is one of those ones where I don't really have an outwardly negative thing to say about it because I did enjoy it. I just didn't think it was that good, unfortunately, is my thing. And that's especially because it's so comedic that it's so extremely subjective. But It was, and I will say that because so obviously for some behind the scenes, obviously these guys were having existential crises about whether or not this is a new game or not.
Oh fucking hell! Like literally,
and like
you can see a title
into?
Screen that says the Stanley Parable 2. Fair enough, it can also say 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but that's neither here nor there.
And so I had never even played the original, so I played the original in the Ultra Deluxe, and then I played some of the new content as well. So I had done none of that before, and I think maybe the conversation had tainted me a little bit because based on some of the conversations you were having, I was like, I'm going to go into one of these doors, and it's going to be a GTA 5 sized city behind one of them. I was like, the way they're and maybe I overhyped, but I think,
like I said, I haven't got all the endings. Can't rule it out.
Yeah, maybe it is. I have not opened every door in that facility. But
you can open a door and go into Rocket League. That is a thing you can do,
which is very funny. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, but I guess it's just I don't know. I found myself like mildly chuckling at a bunch of it, and I just really didn't think. I also feel like it was a little bit I feel like it's doing a lot, so I'm not trying to say it's making the same point over and over again, but I kind of feel like after a couple of it I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get what it's doing, and I'm a bit of a Scrooge on Stanley Parable because I thought it was enjoyable enough, but I admire it, kind of like something Garrett said earlier about I can't remember what specific game. I think it was Elden Ring's music you were talking about, or it was like
their story.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think I admire and kind of respect it a bit more than I was wowed by it. And I think all its stuff about marketing itself as a special edition and then putting in a bunch of red herrings and false this and that, and actually being a sequel, but also kind of skewering the idea of a sequel. But then what is a sequel and all this other stuff? I appreciated it, but I think it landed a bit kind of. Well, no, it didn't. I think it was a bit 7.5 out of 10 for me personally. But
if you had spiced it into the ham sandwich, it would have been.
No, I wouldn't be.
It's rolls.
The funny thing is, because even though I didn't love it as much as you, it's like it's swinging for the fences way too much to be a ham sandwich. It is maybe the most the game has swung for the fences in age. And the funny thing is, playing the original content for the first time this year, like that first couple of it, that's all still really good and relevant to modern game design, which is kind of depressing in a way.
I'm trying to think, what was the new game they switched out for? Because remember, you used to go play Minecraft.
Firewatch.
That was it. They switched out for Firewatch.
It's also very good.
Yeah.
Dave, what did you think of the Cuphead DLC? Where do you stand on that?
I loved it, man. It's just more of the game that, like, I don't want to dig back up what I said about Cuphead when I eventually got to it, when it got onto Switch in 2019. But it, apart from so obviously the style of the game is what drew me in, but nothing about the actual mechanics of the game or a thing that I generally find pleasant whatsoever. And yet it went from that to being one of my favorite games of all time. And I think genuinely one of the best games ever made. And it gives you a new island of that. And it's one of those times where we've talked about times where, like with Horizon and with God of War, where people said, we just want more of that. They gave us just more of that. And we kind of went, shit. Whereas with Cuphead, we all said we just wanted more of that. They gave us more of that. And that was exactly what everyone wanted going into it. And it didn't even have to go as far as it, like you said, you can really fundamentally change the way you play the game by playing as Miss Chalice. If that's the way you want to go, you could just stick it out with Cuphead and Mugman. There's some interesting new power-ups. All those bosses, again, like it almost necessitates a playing of the whole first 3 islands through again, because you are not going to be able to have put that game down from 2019, hop onto Island 4 and be like, yep, I got this.
And the thing as well is, like,
shit out of you.
All of those bosses, they do such a great job of making all of those bosses very unique individual fights that test you on a bunch of different skills and abilities.
Yeah.
And I think that in particular, like the Howling Aces fight is such a unique approach to, because they haven't really done anything like that in Cuphead, where you're, fucking upside down and on the side and trying to like remap the controls in your head in real time as like, you know, and doing it multiple times as you're having to fucking go around the environment. It's
the way they
incredible.
also, instead of just giving you more chalice dungeons, kind of rethought the way we do those challenges. The parry challenges was really cool in this. I really like that. And all of this, like every single like thing we've described, which is like a substantial piece of content, like unless you were an absolute freak who blitzes through these bosses, like it's a substantial amount of content, and there's like £7.
Yeah,
as well.
I know we said the first time, everybody was like, "Is that a mistake?"
Yeah, no, I would have played twice that and more probably for more content. Please don't charge me for that much, MDHR, please. And I know I don't want to by any stretch make that the thing that puts this over the top. I'm just saying that that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, all the stuff Barry got was for free, except the tons of money he poured.
I've spent about.
I was going to say.
I don't know what to say. I deliberately did not say the number. I won't say the number.
I don't have much more to say about Stanley Parable because we've already talked about like the bucket. We've already talked about the endless pit. We've already talked about the reviews, which are all new stuff in this game, but we talked about them in other categories. We've already covered that. The only other thing I wanted to mention was like the graphic design of the Stanley Parable 2 posters. Yeah. Like when you go up to one of them and it's the two doors doing the two. Like that is the most EA sequel to the game poster you could possibly come up with. And there's a ton of fantastic visual gags like that when you go through like the ideas for Stanley Parable 2. Yeah.
I gotta say as well, in terms of like what I've always envisioned the spirit of this award to be is like a game that they do something to or put it on a console that it kind of either gives an excuse to people who remember it fondly or exposes a game to an entirely new audience. Because like Stanley Parable was like a critical darling, but it was fucking niche. And this ultra deluxe version, again, it is, you know, I am just talking from my anecdotal point of view. I don't know this for an absolute fact, but like I had 12, 13-year-olds in my work coming in talking about playing Stanley Parable, which absolutely was not the case the first time round with that game.
Yeah, and I played some of it the first time. I don't know what happened this time, where like the first time I played maybe like 5 or 6 endings. I was like, that's funny. Whereas this time, maybe it is like I think that the new material they've added is better than the original material, which is like an astounding feat in itself because the first one's considered like a groundbreaking great game. Maybe it is because the new material is better, but like so much more hooked me this time. I
think you're just a more sophisticated gamer, Garrett. That's
my palate has matured.
I think it was the perfect year for this game to come out because it's kind of like I said, the original content is still very biting and very damning, and it's not pointed or aggressive in its delivery, but in the context of the gaming industry, you look at what it's saying and you're like, fuck, this is, and it's like, look, the conversations we've had about Ragnarok and Horizon in particular, and just you look at all the games we've talked about and gushed about and fought about, and it's been so sparse in terms of actual AAA representation. It's kind of
in terms of like original IP,
in terms of like in perhaps the truest spirit of the award, this is the most of the moment game it's for this year. You know what I mean?
It's almost mind-numbing that it's like the original Stanley Parable came out, the games industry saw the critiques within it, went, absolutely correct, we're going to keep doing it. Absolutely. It's the thing that Garrett hates about Marvel. It's they're making fun of the thing and then the whole industry just keeps doing the thing. No one learns the lesson of the critique.
Totally. And it's like you have to go like, so because like the Stanley Parable, like both the original and this new stuff, I mean, they really do lampoon the modern games faux choice that they present to the gamer. And it's just so funny that like to get something that I felt was like really meaningful and tangible and what I want from game judges, I have to go to something so niche as Citizen Sleeper, which is such a teeny tiny little thing, genre game that's not going to penetrate major audiences. It kind of only surfaced to the degree it did because of the miracle of Game Pass. There's definitely a very dark timeline that thankfully we don't live on where that service doesn't exist, and Citizen Sleeper is just another game buried on Steam. Do you know what I mean?
It's just Mark instead of the rest. Hey,
it's just Mark and not even me, you know. And the games that Stanley Parable is lampooning remain dominant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, that is the thing, is like there were so many really good games coming out that were just stuck on just Steam. Like again, the original Stanley Parable. I think of things I've championed on previous Game of the Years, like Beginner's Guide and Her Story and stuff like that, where I come in here and go, like, legitimately one of the most like changed how I think about video games and what video games could be. And then everyone's just like, no, I haven't played it, mate. And it's like, it's not the developer's fault.
Subliminal was another one this year like that as well. Yeah, look, I think, and it's kind of surprising for me to say this, but I do think I would go with Stanley Parable. I feel fairly comfortable with that. The Cuphead DLC is perfect, no notes. Like, I have no complaints about it, but the Stanley Parable is just it's a genius bit of game design / industry critique. It's great.
Let's vote.
As me and Barry brought up, like, it couldn't be more perfect to be compared to Overwatch. Like, Overwatch is everything they're insulting, and they just released that thing, and it sits there.
Let's do a vote, Garrett.
Stanley Parable.
Me, I don't want it to get swept. And I'm kind of 50-50 on it anyway. So Cuphead. Mark.
The Stanley.
Jack.
It's time for the bucket to have some fucking vindication here. Stanley fucking Parable Deluxe, son.
And Barry.
I'll go Stanley.
Okay, so your winner for 2022's game of not 2022 is the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Put the bucket in Fortnite. Put the bucket in Fortnite.
If they do that next year, this is getting this award slam dunk.
Yeah.
A fucking narrator voice pack. Oh my god. Oh my god. The circle is closing. Oh, how very predictable.
Next up, we've got a returning category.
Whoa, listener poll.
Listener poll. Oh, yes, of course.
The kids want the Fortnite. Come on.
The kids are important now again.
Yeah. Can I just say I feel really bad about your data? I'm so sad about
that. So we've got. I can give you a top 4.
Go on.
So joint 4th place, sharing 12.2% each. Hitman and Atari 50.
Okay.
Nice to see Atari 50.
Yeah, very surprised by that.
Interesting.
3rd place, 14.6% of the vote. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Fan favorite.
Sharing 2nd place with 17.1% each. It's Cuphead and Wordle.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like, it was the biggest game on the planet. Any other game.
Yeah.
And number 1, Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
19.5%. So it was close.
Is this the first time we've aligned with the poll?
Probably.
Possibly.
Okay.
Democracy and us is lined up behind the cutting critique of the video game industry.